Now, with that being said, there's news coming out of Cleveland that Jimmy Haslam is making a firm decision that Shedeur possibly could be the guy moving forward. Let's check out this article real quick. It just was released about 30 minutes ago. It says Browns quarterback plans got clear, and it's good news for Shedeur Sanders. This article is coming from Dog Pound Daily. It goes on to say, after pulling off a blockbuster trade barely 15 minutes into the 2025 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns pieced together a 7-player class that will go on
category. And then you get to the quarterback, which is, of course, vitally important. Right now, they don't know who their starting quarterback is, but they've got Shedeur and Deshaun and the number 6 overall pick, so you have to weigh that. There are a lot of things, I think, that are very, very attractive about this category. And then you get to the quarterback, which is, of course, vitally important. Right now, they don't know who their starting quarterback is, but they've got Shedeur and Deshaun and the number 6 overall pick, so you have to weigh that. There are a lot of things, I think, that are very, very attractive about this job.
Like, subscribe, and hit that bell.
Jimmy Haslam just fired back, and Cleveland media did not see it coming. After weeks of twisting the story around Shedeur Sanders, the Browns owner finally pushed back on the false claims. Now, the same people who tried to hide the truth are being called out. So let's slow down and look at what's really happening, because this is where Cleveland media often creates confusion. Jimmy Haslam rarely speaks, and when comments like this surface right after the draft and major front office decisions, it matters. Reports saying the Browns' quarterback plan is becoming clearer, and that it's positive for Shedeur, did not appear randomly. This wasn't fan-made talk. It came directly from Cleveland media sources. And pay attention to the timing. Right after the draft chaos ended, right when the Browns set their direction, this report dropped. That tells you Shedeur is not an afterthought. He is part of future conversations, not viewed as a mistake or a problem. Yet for weeks, Browns media pushed the idea that Shedeur was unwanted, uncoachable, and barely accepted. That storyline is breaking down now, and it's uncomfortable because the owner's actions don't match their narrative. Jason Lloyd openly said no coach wanted Shedeur and that he should be released. That wasn't analysis. That was an agenda. Statements that extreme need proof, and none was ever provided. No sources, no quotes, no names, just opinion and tone. And that's been the pattern. Shedeur was judged before getting a real opportunity. Confidence was labeled ego. Patience was labeled weakness. Silence was labeled failure. Meanwhile, the team kept him. The front office didn't rush to move on. Now reports suggest he could be a future quarterback. So the question is simple, were media voices wrong, or were they never honest? Because real analysts adjust when facts change. When agendas are exposed, voices go quiet. That's exactly what we're seeing. Mary Kay deserves scrutiny as well, and that matters. For months, the tone around Shedeur was dismissive, doubtful, and cold. Now suddenly, after Stefanski is fired, the wording shifts. Now Shedeur is someone coaches are asked about. Now he's framed as a future option. That feels convenient. We don't know why the view changed so quickly, but the timing is obvious. When leadership shifts, narratives shift too. That shows Shedeur was never the real issue. He was stuck in a media fight, not a football one. The truth is Shedeur is still here because the building believes in him more than the microphones ever did. And no amount of revision erases who tried to tear him down when it was easy. The same voices who dismissed the Browns' future now call this job attractive. So what changed overnight, and why does Shedeur now sit at the center of it?
Is in the eye of the beholder. I think there are many things about this Cleveland Browns job that are attractive. And I think that one of them, obviously, is the fact that they have a very dominant defense. So I think that is something that, especially if you are a defensive-minded head coach, you're going to look at this job and say, yes, they do have the best defense in the AFC North and the best talent in the AFC North. So I do believe that from that standpoint, you can look at it and say it's number one in that category. And then you get to the quarterback, which is, of course, vitally important. Right now, they don't know who their starting quarterback is, but they've got Shedeur and Deshaun and the number 6 overall pick, so you have to weigh that. There are a lot of things, I think, that are very, very attractive about this job. And, this is a football team that not too long ago won 11 games. So the last 2 years have been bad, but there is still some talent on this football team. And that rookie class last year was phenomenal. So I think the future is pretty.
What stands out here is how carefully Browns media frames the quarterback situation while still trying to stay cautious. The job is labeled attractive. The defense gets praise. The roster earns respect. The future suddenly looks bright. But when it comes to the most important position in football, the wording turns unclear. They say they don't know who the starter is. Yet they quietly name Shedeur first. Shedeur is mentioned before Deshaun and before the draft pick. That tells you something without saying it out loud. If Shedeur truly had no future here, he would not be included in this discussion. Coaches don't evaluate players they plan to cut. Front offices don't float names they don't believe in. Shedeur is being seen as a real option, even if the media refuses to say it plainly. This is where Browns media deserves criticism. For months, many of these same voices labeled Shedeur as a problem. Not skilled enough, not coachable, not worth the effort. Some even argued he should be released. Now suddenly he is part of what makes the job appealing. They are changing their language because the team's direction is getting harder to ignore. When reality shifts, narratives shift too. Instead of admitting mistakes, they soften their tone and hide behind competition and evaluation talk. That way, they never have to own their past opinions. Fans see this change, even if the media hopes they don't. Shedeur deserves more respect than he has received. He stayed silent while others talked. He stayed professional while people questioned his role. Now, without noise or drama, his name keeps appearing when the future is discussed. Not as a joke, not as an emergency option, but as a real part of the plan. That says plenty. If this job truly has a bright future, as they now suggest, then Shedeur is part of that future. The media doesn't have to like him. They just need to stop acting like he doesn't matter. Because right now, the Browns situation shows that he does. And if Shedeur truly didn't matter, why is every coaching candidate being asked about him first? What are the Browns quietly trying to learn behind closed doors?
But where do you think the Shedeur, Sanders, and to be fair, let's throw Dylan Gabriel in there because he did start this season as well. So these two young rookies, how do you think they factor in to this coaching search as far as their importance?
Well, I think that the Browns are probably talking to these candidates a whole lot about what they see and think about Shedeur Sanders, because out of anybody on this roster, he would be someone who would be considered to be a possible quarterback of the future. So I'm sure they're picking the brains of these guys to say, hey, what do you think of what we've got right here, right now? And do you feel like you could work with him? And in the same way, they are encouraging candidates to possibly hang on to Jim Schwartz and Tommy Rees. I'm sure that in a perfect world, they would like some of these candidates to get excited about Shedeur and tell the Browns that, hey, we think you have something here. Because if they could do that, they would save themselves a whole lot of trouble, time, money, and everything else to know that they could build around him and see what they have with him for next year and move forward with that. So I think that's how it's all works.
When coaches are interviewed, the first young quarterback they are asked about is Shedeur, not the draft pick, not the idea of starting fresh, just Shedeur. That alone says a lot. Teams do not spend interview time on players they plan to discard. They ask about players they may want to build around. The Browns are clearly trying to learn who believes in Shedeur and who knows how to work with him. That means he is not just another name on the roster. He is a real question tied to the future. And if the front office is asking, can you work with him, that shows they see something worth developing. That is basic football logic. Now look at how Browns media has handled this. For weeks, the message was very clear. Shedeur is not the answer. Coaches will not want him. He is a problem, not a solution. Yet now we are told that coaching candidates are being encouraged to be excited about him. That is a full shift. Instead of owning that change, the media acts like this was always the case. It was not. Many of these same voices dismissed him with no patience. They judged him too early. They spoke with confidence. Now they quietly pull it back. That damages credibility. Fans remember who pushed which story. You cannot spend months tearing a player down and then act neutral when the team starts leaning his way. Shedeur comes out of this looking calm and professional. He did not speak. He did not complain. He did not respond. He simply stayed put while the noise went on. Now, when real choices are being made, his name is in the center of the discussion. The Browns want to avoid wasting time, money, and draft picks. That means they want a solution already in the building if possible. Shedeur gives them that opportunity. He may not be perfect. No young quarterback is, but he is clearly valued more inside the building than he ever was on radio or in headlines. And that gap between reality and media talk is exactly why Browns coverage deserves criticism right now.
And, you can't rule anybody out else out yet, because if things don't work out the way that you want them to with those teams, then you start to go down your list a little bit. So, right? I mean, nobody thought Deshaun Watson was coming here until he was. So you can't completely rule the Browns out yet for John Harbaugh, but they certainly don't seem to be on his top three at the moment. So that domino has to fall, and then a few others have to fall as well. Kevin Stefanski, I think he's going to be pretty high on the list for getting a job. But if you really like someone and that coach goes all the way to the Super Bowl, then I think you have to be willing to wait for him. It's only a couple more weeks. And I know that people get a little panicky about the staff and things like that, but you want to make sure that you're getting the guy that you want and not worrying about will he be able to assemble a staff if he goes and plays in the Super Bowl.
The Browns are still uncertain and still waiting for something to change. They are focused on big names and timing, not real clarity. That shows the process is being driven by fear, not vision. They are scared to commit. They are scared to move first. They want to see what others do before choosing their own path. That kind of thinking usually leads to safe decisions, not smart ones. And when teams operate like this, young quarterbacks suffer the most. Shedeur does not need more waiting. He does not need silence. He needs direction. The longer the Browns wait, the louder the outside noise becomes. The media fills the space, stories grow, and the player becomes the target even though he controls none of it. For Shedeur to succeed, the Browns need a coach with confidence and clarity. Not someone chasing trends. Not someone afraid of headlines. He needs a coach who believes in development, not replacement. Someone who values structure, patience, and communication. A coach who can say, "This is our guy. Let's see what we have," and stand on it. Shedeur is not a chaos quarterback. He is calm. He processes. He responds to trust. If the Browns hire a coach who only wants a finished star, Shedeur will be wasted. But if they hire a coach who wants to build and lead, Shedeur fits perfectly. The choice is simple. The real question is whether the Browns are bold enough to make it. At the same time, the Browns are clearly keeping their options open, and that is not all bad. In football, rushing big decisions can backfire, especially when hiring a head coach. Things change quickly. Coaches become available. Situations shift. No one expected certain moves in the past until they actually happened. Waiting for the right moment can sometimes be smart. The Browns are letting things play out before locking themselves into one answer. That patience could work in their favor. The goal should be getting the right coach, not just the fastest one. Waiting a little longer for the best fit makes sense. Pressure and panic lead to mistakes. A strong, experienced coach could bring stability and leadership that this team has lacked. For a young quarterback like Shedeur, the right coach matters more than anything. He needs someone who builds confidence and allows growth. Shedeur benefits from calm, steady leadership. If the Browns land a coach who knows how to develop players and manage a locker room, it could change everything. The media focuses on drama, but real progress happens quietly. A coach who believes in Shedeur can unlock what others overlooked. So while nothing is final yet, there is reason for optimism. The right coach can turn Shedeur from a question into an answer. In the end, the noise fades and the truth remains. Shedeur Sanders is still part of the Browns' future, no matter how hard some tried to erase him.